In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys where you should not buy your nightclub in Grand Theft Auto Online. Today, we're going to be looking at the most popular locations in the game, as well as some player behavior as well. So the source I'm using for this is usgamer.net. This is an article by Zach Zwiesen. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. And essentially what he has done is uncovered the most popular locations in Grand Theft Auto Online. Since we know the next update is going to be about nightclubs and owning them, and I can almost guarantee you in order to take part in the nightclub business, you're going to have to be in a public session, this information will be good for you because the fewer players you have around you, the less likely you are to get blown up, have your cargo destroyed, or simply be griefed by other players. So let's take a look at the full map right now. I'll let you guys look at this for a second. And it's pretty clear where the majority of the player base and the population is happening. And that is going to be inside of the city. So let's actually zoom in here and take a look at some key spots because there's some really dark red and black circles that we need to point out here. So again, the most obvious takeaway here is that a lot of players spend a good portion of their time in online in and around Los Santos. But if we zoom in, we'll find some massive hotspots. The first hotspot is right next to the Del Perro Pier. Now, the reason this is a massive hotspot is for a couple reasons. Number one, this is where the cheapest 10-car apartment is. So a lot of people are going to be buying that. They're going to be spawning there, and they're obviously going to be hanging around their apartments. Number two, this is also where the cheapest CEO office is, Maze Bank West, which can be purchased for $1 million. So you've got the cheapest apartment, you've got the cheapest CEO office. That combination right there means a lot of people are going to be hanging out in that spot. Now, in addition to that, there's also a lot of other convenient things in and around that area. Clothing store, weapons store, convenience store. For the most part, you've got a lot of popular areas like the beach and the pier, which obviously has the Ferris wheel and whatnot. So you're going to get a lot of people in and around this area. Now, one thing that's kind of worrisome about this is that is exactly where Bahama Mamas is. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Bahama Mamas is literally right across the street from Maze Bank West, and it's literally right across the street from the cheapest 10-car apartment. I think it's like Richard's Majestic or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know it's like 200 grand. So that might actually be a bad location. If Bahama Mamas is available to purchase, it's one you might want to consider not owning because it is in the hottest spot in Los Santos, where the majority of players are going to be hanging out. Now, as I've mentioned in other videos, I think there's a good chance that Bahama Mamas is not going to be available to own as a private nightclub, but instead is going to be one that we just get to publicly go in, like the Vanilla Unicorn or something like that. So that's location number one that you definitely need to stay away from. The second location that you need to stay away from is right on Eclipse Towers. And this is not surprising either. So Eclipse Towers is probably like the most high-end apartments that you can buy. That's where all the penthouse apartments are. For the longest time before they were added, those were where the most glamorous and expensive normal apartments were. So if you were going for luxury, that's where you would go. I own a place in Eclipse Towers. It's probably like the most, common area that we see people owning an apartment in. And if you guys have caught any of my other videos, you'll know that on that strip right there, there's probably about 3 or 4 potential nightclub locations that we could own. So that might be one that you want to stick away from as well. I know that Eclipse Boulevard looks awesome at night with all the neon glowing signs, but it really is a spot that is just chocked full of people, obviously, as you guys know. Probably the third biggest spot, and this really shouldn't be a surprise, is the Los Santos Custom Shop. So this is the Los Santos Custom Shop located directly in the city. It's kind of this orange blob right there, right in the middle. Now, luckily for us, there aren't a ton of nightclubs that are likely to be in this area. So I think we've actually lucked out when it comes to that. But we know there's going to be new vehicles in the nightclub update. And if you want to make sure your vehicles stay safe while you're customizing them, either take them to your office garage or customize them in a private session. don't go to a public session and go to that main LSC. It is always packed with people, and it's super easy to grief in a location like that. Probably the fourth busiest spot, and this should be no surprise, is the area right around the Arcadius Business Center and the Maze Bank Tower. That is like our fourth area in which we see a lot of orange and red. This really shouldn't be a surprise either. Those are probably two of the most popular offices in Grand Theft Auto Online. And even though there isn't a nightclub location there, I think there's a good chance that the nightclub businesses could be attached to something like the CEO offices. So you have to access your office in order to do something with the nightclub, which means people are going to be going back and forth. They're going to be accessing that area, etc. So that's something to keep in mind right there, that players are probably going to be going back and forth in their offices. And as far as big time locations in the city goes, the next big spot is on this one stretch of highway. And I'm not too sure why. I think it's located near another Los Santos custom shop. But this also is probably just like the main highway that people use to get around, whether they're going into the city or out of the city. This is like the main one that they end up using. So that's why it's highlighted in sort of an orange color, as a lot of people tend to go there. So there's definitely a lot of nightclub locations here, especially ones that are located in the city that are definitely going to get caught up in a lot of high traffic areas. However, let's talk about some of the warehouse locations that I mentioned yesterday. Those are actually in some of the least populated areas of the city. As you guys can see right here, there's hardly any yellow. In fact, most of it is blank. So maybe Rockstar did that strategically. They put nightclubs in a less populated part of the city with more industrial warehouse vibe in order to sort of balance everything out. That's actually a pretty good idea, and if that's the case, that would mean that we're not going to have as much trouble in around those areas because it's really not located in next to a bunch of different things like Los Santos custom shops, apartments, CEO offices, etc. So if that's the case, that's going to be really good news, as we're going to have a ton of privacy with our nightclubs, or at least as much privacy as we can sort of get inside of the city. Now let's go outside of the city and let's talk about the rest of San Andreas and Blaine County. And obviously, as we get outside of the city, you'll start to notice that it gets less and less crowded. There's really only a couple locations that seem to be really busy, and all of them, for the most part, are either at hangars or bunkers. That's like the thing you're going to notice the most here. So probably the biggest one is going to be, it's either the Farmhouse Bunker or the Thompson Scrapyard Bunker, right south of the prison. You see like a really big heat map right there. That should really be no surprise. You see a lot of people obviously accessing their bunkers. There's a huge little block of dots near the Fort Zancudo military base. Now, even without all the businesses, this is not surprising. The military base is obviously something people go to hang out and explore. But obviously, you've got lots of bunkers nearby. You've got hangars inside of the military base itself. So you're getting a lot of different traction over there. We see some activity near Blaine County and Sandy Shores, but probably the most surprising bit definitely happens up in Paleto Bay, where there's actually two big orange clusters, and I'm not sure why. Are there bunkers up there? If so, I don't really remember or why you would want to do that. Maybe there's really cheap biker businesses, so you're seeing a lot of people. I know that's where the cheaper homes are. So maybe the reason you're seeing sort of the big orange up there is because those are like the ultra cheap options. And if you are looking for that, even though it's way more inconvenient, that's maybe the location you would opt in for instead of maybe one of the other spots located around the map. Now, luckily for us, I highly doubt there is going to be any nightclub activity in Sandy Shores or Paleto Bay. Rockstar have done a pretty good job of balancing things out recently. So I would say like Smuggler's Run, the Bikers Update, gun running, more of that took place outside of the city, like in your bunkers and whatnot. I think Rockstar is going to be moving this back into the city. And we're going to start to focus more on the industrial nightlife, nightclub style of things. So I don't think we're really going to have to worry about anything really outside of the city. I mean, we might have to do like supply runs or deliveries that go out there, but I think everything for the most part is going to take place inside the city itself. And really the last part I failed to mention was at the airport. The airport is generally busy no matter what. I'm sure we're going to have delivery missions that take place there, but you really can't help anything about that. The airport there's only one of them in the game. You can't like choose what airport you want. So that right there is the most popular locations in Grand Theft Auto Online, and where you should not buy your nightclub or handle your nightclub business in Grand Theft Auto Online, because obviously the more people that are around, yes, obviously it's a little bit more lively and dynamic, but there's a greater chance that things can go wrong. Now, in case you guys want to read this entire article for yourself, because it does actually mention some of the more quieter spots and less known parts of the world, which are actually kind of cool, kind of touching on the places that might have been forgotten about in game, I will leave a link to that in the description, because it is pretty cool to see just how open this world is, and also how many places really don't seem to be explored by others, which I definitely think is very unique. So anyways, I'll leave a link to that in the description. You can check it out for yourself. But I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. If you could have your nightclub location be in any spot on the map, where would you put it? Would you put it in the high traffic areas? Would you put it in a low traffic area? Would you like to have one like smack dab in the middle of the city? Let me know your thoughts, opinions more in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you did go on to enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new. You like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.